who speak in more monotone, dispassionate, and confident tones of voice as more credible.
Definitely check out the rest of this video and listen to what this creator has to say about emotion bias. I'm going to add on to it a little bit here. My name is Mariana. I'm a first-generation professional and certified coach helping other first-gen pros and 21st century leaders navigate complex career environments. So I really appreciated what this creator had to say about the way American cultural conditioning and societal norms have shaped our ideas of emotional detachment and restraint being equated to rationality and authority. If you're like me, the first time you really experienced that very flat, monotone, no inflection kind of speaking was in the workplace because it's associated with professionalism. And I want to take a look at this from more of an intersectional lens because there are other nuances to consider with regards to expressive communication, not just intonation and inflection, but also volume, gestures, and facial expressions. There's the intersectionality between emotion bias and gender bias. One of the unwritten norms of the workplace is that to some degree, gender roles will be honored, meaning that females are somewhat expected to be more of the nurturing and supportive voice in the room, while men are just assumed to be the more assertive and authoritative voice in the room. When a female executive wishes to express dissent or establishes boundaries that she consistently holds herself and others accountable to, there is still a risk that she will be perceived as difficult. Whereas a male executive choosing those behaviors is often perceived as bold. Then there's the way that emotion bias bumps up against racial and cultural stereotype. Emotion bias also intersects with racial and cultural stereotypes. I was raised in a Puerto Rican household and my cultural background is very expressive. As a Hispanic female executive, if I stood my ground about something or was very passionate about a point of view, not only did I run the risk of violating those gender role expectations and being labeled as difficult, but I also risked being tagged with the cultural stereotype of, spicy, fiery, sensitive. And I observed my Black female executive colleagues experiencing a similar bias, except they were usually tagged as angry or obstinate. And also class bias intersects with emotion bias as well. If you've seen my videos at all, you know I love the creator, Dr. K. She has spoken so eloquently about social class and the unwritten rules of work. This is one of the ways that it also intersects with emotion bias because the lower class background individuals tend to have a more expressive and direct style of communication, whereas people raised in upper class backgrounds tend to have indirect and reserved styles of communication. So what we see in the workplace is actually emotion bias intersecting with other biases around gender, race, culture, and class. Now, like I've said, I personally completely reject the idea that a leader cannot simultaneously be effective, competent, and rational while also being in touch with their emotions. I just think that's bullshit. And the reason why I believe this is actually part of why I became a full-time coach. It's important to not only be in touch with your intellectual, logical side of thinking, but also the central nervous system signals and impulses and being able to accept and interpret what they're trying to relay to you about your body's emotional state at any given moment. Now, as adults, of course, we need to always take responsibility for our emotions and how the way we express them may impact others around us. Leaders are always mindful of that, and they adjust their approach accordingly. The most well-rounded leaders are the ones who are able to balance assessing the data that they're receiving from their logical brain, as well as their central nervous system at any given time to truly understand the motives behind the decisions they're making. And they leverage that holistic understanding to the benefit of others around them. If you found this interesting and relatable, hit the button and follow for more.